So the topic is all about the muscular system. Muscular, of course, it comprises of muscles. So what are the functions of muscles in our body? Muscle has the ability to contract, permitting muscles to perform various functions. And what are these functions? Number one, it is for movement. There are three types of muscles wherein they are associated with movement. Number one, we have your skeletal muscles. These are type of muscles wherein they are attached to bones by tendons. So cross joints, so when they contract, bones they attach to, of course, there is movement. And the type of movement wherein they control is what we call now the voluntary movements. Smooth muscle. Smooth muscle, these are all found on organ walls. All organs in our body except the heart. So contractions produce movement of organ contents. So therefore, smooth muscle, they control our involuntary movement. Like for example, the process of peristalsis, the process of digestion, the process of respiration, they are being controlled by your smooth muscle. Another type of muscle that we have is your cardiac muscle. Cardiac, of course, this type of muscle can be found only in our heart. Therefore, the function of it is to pump blood from the heart into the blood vessels. That's the first function of the muscles for movement. Next, another function is stability. The muscles they are being hold they hold bones tightly together. So if that's the case, then it stabilizes the joints. Small muscles hold vertebrae together. Then they stabilize the spinal column. So therefore, one function of the muscle is stability. Another function is they control body openings and passages. Like for example, the sphincters that we have in our body. So when you say sphincters, these are valve-like structures formed by muscles. So what's the function? They control the movement of substances in and out of substances. Like for example, a urethral sphincter. So this type of sphincter, it prevents or allows urination. That's why uh, that's why if we have the urge to urinate and wala tayong makitang mga comfort rooms, we can still hold our pee because there are sphincters that control the movement of substances out of the body. Okay? So yan. They they control the body openings and passages. Another one is like another example is the sphincter in our what? In our digestive system. In especially the part of our large intestine, in our like at the end of it we have your anus. Next, heat production. Heat is released with muscle contraction. So therefore, the muscles they control the body temperature. So moving your body can make you warmer if you are cold. So that's why like the response of our body is somewhat like for example, when our body temperature drops, then what's the reaction of our body or our muscles? It shivers. So once it shivers, there is movement of our muscles, thus producing heat. Okay, then later it will normalize the temperature because the movement of the muscle or if there is muscle contraction, then heat is being released. Okay, so that's the fourth function of the muscles. So these are the functions of the muscles. Next, what are the facts about your muscles? You have over 800 major muscles in the body, and they work the same way. Over 50 of those muscles are in your face alone. It takes 17 muscles to smile and over 40 to frown. So that's why, sabi nila, nakakabata ang pagkangiti. Why? Because if you are always smiling, you are just only using 17 muscles of your face. Pero pag lagi kang nakakunot, lagi kang nakagalit, you are using 40 muscles of your face. So, you know the principle of wear and tear, right? So, pag ginamit mo, therefore, later on, there is later on sign of usage. Kumbaga, magsasag ang ating skin. Okay? So, kaya nga, sabi nila, nakakabata ang smiling because you are not all using your facial muscles. 17 lang ang gagamitin mo. But if you are always frowning or lying galit, you are using 40 muscles, facial muscles. So that's why always smile. Next, approximately 20% of a woman's weight and approximately 40% of a man's weight. So, ganyan kabigat ang ating muscles. And then, the strongest muscle in your body is the masseter muscle, which is located on each side of the mouth. Yan. Laging na-exercise yan. Especially like when we are chewing, okay, when we are always chewing. Yan. So, kaya, they are the strongest muscle. Next, your most active muscles are those in your eyes. They move more than 100,000 times a day. And that is true. Okay? Because of like blinking, like ang daming nakikita, like especially if you are a keen observer, napapansin lahat, then this is somewhat like kumbaga the most active muscles. Hindi yan nag-i-stop. Muscles always work in pairs, yes. So like for example, there is a process of shortening or contracting. Once it shortens or once it contracts, then the other muscles will relax. They always work in pairs. Like for example, biceps, your biceps. Once your biceps contract, the triceps will relax and vice versa. So they always work in pairs. There are characteristics of our muscle tissues, and what are they? Irritability or excitability. So what does it mean? Our muscles has the property of receiving stimuli and responding to them. Kaya very sensitive tayo. Okay? Why? Because your muscles, they really have the property of receiving this stimuli and respond to it immediately. Number 2 is contractibility. They have the ability to contract. So your muscle becomes shorter and thicker. The third one is what we call extensibility. What does it mean? Your muscles can be stretched. And number 4, elasticity. So meaning, once your muscles contracts or relax, it returns to its original shape. So those are the 4 characteristics of muscle tissues. Okay. So, as I have said a while back, there are 3 types of human muscle tissues. We have skeletal, the smooth, and the cardiac. So, pahapyaw ko na lang ito. So, skeletal, in terms of its structure, they are striated, meaning to say stripes. Kumbaga, ang tsura nila is stripes, striated, and nucleated, meaning marami silang nucleus. Their major location, they are attached to bones and skin of the face. Not just only on the skin of the face. Okay? So, they are attached to bones by tendons, like for example. So, what are their functions? It produces body movements and facial expressions. especially voluntary movements. So that's why the mode of control is voluntary. So all the voluntary movements in our body are being controlled by your skeletal muscle. Next is your smooth muscle. So the structure is non-striated, hindi sila stripes, and single nucleus. So each muscle, it contains only one nucleus. Unlike your skeletal muscle, they are nucleated. Marami silang nucleus. They can be found in the organs of our body. Okay, like for example, the blood, the stomach, the lungs, okay, the blood vessels, and the iris. So they control all the involuntary movements of our body. Like, for example, peristalsis, digestion, respiration. So, the mode of control is involuntary. Next is the cardiac muscle. So, this type of muscle can only be found in your heart. They are striated and single nucleus. So, they can be only be found in the heart. So therefore, the function is to pump blood through the heart. So, excuse me, the mode of control is involuntary. So these are the three types of muscles in a human body. So let's go to muscles and the body movements. So movement is attained due to a muscle moving an attached bone. Okay, so look at now the picture. Okay, so looking at now the muscle, they are being attached to the bones. So we have here what we call your origin, and the other one is the insertion. So muscles are being attached. Okay, the muscles are attached to the bones by tendons. So this is a type of skeletal muscle. So we have here the point of attachment. We have here your origin. So this is the attachment of the muscle to a movable bone. And the other one, the insertion, is the attachment of the muscle to an immovable bone. So once they are being attached to a movable bone, yung nagagalaw, that is the origin. Insertion naman if they are attached to immovable bones. So what are the skeletal muscles as to actions? We have here what we call your agonist, or this is your prime mover. So like this is the principal mover for a specific action. So like for example, the deltoid. Okay, the deltoid muscle in abduction of arm. Okay, next antagonist is wherein this is the opposite movement of the agonist or the prime mover. Like for example, latissimus dorsi and pectoralis for the deltoid muscle. So we will be discussing the names of the major muscles in our body. Another is the synergist, wherein this type of action of the skeletal muscle is they stabilize movement of one joint. So therefore, they inhibit undesirable movement. Kaya nga, hindi natin somewhat like na overstretch ang ating some of our body parts because there is just only certain movement of it. Yun yung tinatawag nating synergies. Sila yung nag-i-stabilize or they only limit the movement of the muscles. Okay, so that's the example. The brachioradialis and the brachialis assist the biceps to create the movement. And of course, once there is a movement, hindi gagalaw ang ating elbow joint. So it stabilizes the elbow joint. So that's the synergist. And the other one is your fixator. Fixed. Okay? So meaning to say, it fixes position of the limb when movement occurs. Yan. Okay, so like for example, biceps and triceps, hold your shoulder and elbow in position. So these are the actions of the skeletal muscles only. Okay, so there are specific functions of our muscles. So we have, what are some of these terms? Okay, like for example, when you say flexion, so what's the movement? Okay, so flexion meaning to say you are bending or decreasing the joint angle. Okay, flexion, you decrease the joint angle. Extension naman is it's straighten or you increase the joint angle. Then we have here your adduction, between your adduction and your abduction. Adduction, meaning to say, draw apart toward the median line. Paloob siya. Abduction, inabduct. Okay? Away. Yan. Away from the median line. Adduction, abduction. Next, we have your pronation and your supination. So, nakadapa. Okay? Yun, nakadapa or rotate part downward, that is pronation. Then, supination is rotate part forward and upward. Yan, that's the pronation and supination. Between elevation and depression, okay, so elevation, raise of lift apart, itataas mo. Then, pababa, downward, it's depression. You lower or depress sa part. Elevation versus depression. Between constriction and dilation. Constriction, meaning to say you compress the space or maliit, throw parts together, lumiliit, constrict. Like for example, is yung blood vessel, constriction of the blood vessels. Ibig sabihin, lumiliit yung daanan ng blood ninyo. Lumiliit ang ating blood vessels. Pero pag dilation, lumalaki. It widens an opening or space. So, constriction, dilation. Inversion versus eversion. So, when you say inversion, you turn the sole of your foot medially. Medially. Okay? Medially. Kumbaga, paloob din siya. Just the movement of your foot. Eversion is away the foot, okay? Away from the medial line. Turning the sole of the foot laterally. Okay. Protraction and retraction. So, when you say retraction, moving a body part posteriorly. So, ibig sabihin, posteriorly, okay, paharap o palikod. Okay, that is palikod. Pag protraction, you are moving a part of your body anteriorly. Paharap siya. So, retraction, protraction. So, those are the specific movements of our muscles. Okay. So, let's name our skeletal muscles. Medyo mahirap ito, but once you know the meaning of the terms, alam nyo na kung ano yung magiging itsura ng mga muscles natin. Like for example, the direction of the fibers of the muscles. Pag sinabi mong rectus, meaning to say, ang itsura ng muscle na yan is straight or parallel to the midline. When you say naman oblique, meaning to say, ang itsura niya ay slope or diagonal to the body's midline. Transversus naman, it's at the right angle. Sphincter, meaning to say, circling and opening. Ibig sabihin ng mga sphincters, matatagpuan lang siya sa mga openings ng mga body parts natin. Okay. So yan. So once you know the meaning of these words, then you can already identify their location, or what else, their direction, or the shape, or the structure of the skeletal muscles. In terms naman of location or position, so when you say thoracic, of course, this type of muscle can be found in your chest or a part of your thorax. Pag brachialis naman, meaning this type of muscle can be found in your arm. Oculi, so this muscle is in your eyes. Supra, meaning to say, it's above. Pag superficial naman, it's just a shallow part of your muscle. That is based on the location or position. Another, in terms of division, yan. Pag triceps, tatlo, biceps, dalawa, yan. And then, in terms of shape naman, pag deltoid, pag narinig mo yung deltoid muscles, meaning to say, ang itsura pala niya is, the shape is triangular. Okay? Pag orbicularis naman, meaning to say, ang itsura niya ay circular. Pag platy, so this type of muscle is flattened, or it's a plate-like, parang somewhat like mga tawag dito, pancakes, mga ganyan, flattened, they are flattened. Quadratus, meaning to say, pa-square sila. Rhomboideus, of course, mga diamond shape. Then serratus, ibig sabihin, ang itsura niya is, pag serratus is yung teeth or the teeth of a saw, yung pa-zigzag siya, ganyan. Teres naman is cylindrical. Yan. Okay. Another is in terms of action naman, parang yung na-discuss ko kanina, flexor, extensor. So once you know the meaning of these actions of the muscle, then you already know the type of movement of the muscles. In terms of size naman, pag maximus, ibig sabihin malaki yung muscles na yan. Magnus naman is large. Maximus is parang pinakamalaking muscles. Brevis naman is somewhat like short. Longus muscles, they are long. Medius is moderately sized, and minimus is somewhat like the smallest muscles, or they are just small muscles. Yan. Okay, so once you already know this, the size of, or the meaning of the words that they use in naming the muscles, then you can already identify their shape, their location, or it could be their structure. Okay, so let's discuss just only the major muscles in our body. I will not discuss everything. Okay, so deltoid. Okay, bakit kailangan kong i-discuss ang deltoid? Because this is so important, especially when we are receiving vaccinations. Yan, mga intramuscular injections. Dito kasi, ini-inject ang gamot. Okay, sa deltoid. So, look at now. Pag sinabi mong deltoid, so ano yung tsura niya? So, alam mo na, it's somewhat like triangular siya. Trapezius muscles. Okay, trapezoid. Kumbaga, this type of muscle is somewhat like, ang shape niya is trapezoid. So, this can be found at the back. Okay, at the back of your body. Another is the latissimus dorsi muscle. Ayan. Latissimus dorsi. Dorsal. Yan. Dorsal, ibig sabihin sa likod. So, this type of muscle can be found at the back of your body. Dorsal. Another is the biceps and triceps, okay, in terms of division. Yan. So, dalawa, ibig sabihin, biceps siya. Ito naman yung divisions niya, 1, 2, 3. This is the triceps. Ayan, gluteus maximus. Maximus, ibig sabihin, malaki. Largest muscle. So, ayan, somewhat like saan matatagpuan usually yung mga largest muscles natin, they can be found sa buttocks natin. Ayan, gluteus maximus. Yan, hamstring. Okay, we have here, there are 3 hamstring in our leg. Yan. Ito kasi yung gluteus natin. This is the upper leg, okay? This is the structure of the upper leg. This is the gluteus maximus, or the buttocks. And then 3 hamstring, nandito sila. Yan. We have here your Semitendinosus, ibig sabihin marami siyang tendons. Then semimembranosus, and then the biceps femoris. This is naman the calf muscles. Then, ito, yung kanilang itsura. Look at now the structure of the hamstring muscles. Yan. Okay. Semitendinosus. Ibig sabihin, somewhat like marami siyang mga tendons. Okay. Ito naman is semimembranosus. Ibig sabihin, membranes. Ito naman is the bicep femoris. Femoris, ibig sabihin, pag femoris, it's saan siya makikita? The location is in your femoral bones. Yan, femoral bone. Ayan. Sa bugi-bugi, gastrocnemius and the soleus muscle. Yan. Ito. Ito yung dalawa dito, yung bugi talaga dito. And then this is the soleus. The side. Sa likod ito, and then the side of it is the soleus. Okay, so we have here your Achilles tendon. Tendon talaga siya. Okay, and this is the calcaneal bone, or heel bone, or the calcaneal bone. Okay, major pectoral, it is in your what? It is in the chest. Yan. This one, the red part. Major pectoral. Then, look at now your abdominal muscles. Kumbaga, it is somewhat like different directions ang mga covering or ang mga structures ng muscles na to. Okay, these are the abdominal muscles. So, internal oblique, ibig sabihin nasa loob siya, internal oblique. What's the direction of the fibers of these muscles is pa-slope siya, slant, oblique. Ito naman external, ibig sabihin nasa labas lang yung muscle na to. But, okay, oblique pa rin or pa-slope yung kanyang direction. The fibers of the muscles, pa-slope or oblique. Yan, abdominal muscles. Quadriceps, ibig sabihin apat. Okay, quadriceps. Dito, matatagpuan dito sa may femoral bones ninyo. Anterior tibialis, yan. Anterior, ibig sabihin sa harap. Okay, tibialis. Ibig sabihin, it is being attached to your tibia bone. Tibia, which is located in your lower leg. Okay, lower leg. So, what are the parts of our skeletal muscles? Yan. So, let's have these terms. Kailangan alam nyo itong mga terms na to. So, you know, the somewhat like, kumbaga, these muscles, parang somewhat like, they are composed of similar cells. Kaya, pag sinabi mo kasing sarcolemma, it's, the equivalent of it is the cell membrane. Okay? Sarcolemma, ibig sabihin, the cell membrane. The cell membrane. Ibig sabihin, the covering of your skeletal muscles. Sarcoplasm, this is the jelly part of the muscles, like the equivalent to cytoplasm of the cell. Sarcoplasmic reticulum, or this is the endoplasmic reticulum. Remember, in your cell, it is composed of your rough ER and the smooth ER. Sarcosomes naman, this is equivalent to mitochondria. So, meaning to say, pag mitochondria or the sarcosomes, these are the powerhouse of your muscles. Yan. So, very important yung mga terms na to. So, this is the macroscopic anatomy of the muscles. Yan. So, the tendons connect the muscles to bone and are made up of what? Numerous fascicles. Fascicles ang tawag sa mga ito. Yung mga pabilog-bilog na yan. These are fascicles, which are being clustered together, which surrounded by what we call now your epimysium. Pag sinabi mong epimysium, these are the coverings. Okay, these are the coverings. Ibig sabihin, epimysium, this is the outer covering of the fascicle. Fascicle, these are a bundle of muscle fibers all put together, surrounded by your perimysium. Yan. Ito. So, tignan niyo. This is the fascicle. Then, ito, the inner covering of it Nasa loob siya. This is the perimysium. So the muscle fiber, or these are the muscle cells. These are cluster of myofibril surrounded by your endomysium. Yan. Ito yung tawag dito, your muscle fiber. Ito. Yan. Myofibrils, okay, these are long protein chains that make up now the muscle cells. Okay. So, yung sarcoplasmic reticulum natin nito, which is equivalent to your endoplasmic reticulum. So, what is this? What is the function of it? Is they store and release calcium for muscle contraction. Unlike in our cell, the function of your endoplasmic reticulum, especially the rough endoplasmic reticulum, they manufacture, or it synthesizes protein. Okay, but this reticulum in your muscles, what do? They store, or they are somewhat like they store and release the calcium, because this calcium is so important when it comes also to muscle contraction. Okay. May mga coverings tayo. Meron tayong tinatawag na deep fascia. So, meaning to say, this is so important in terms of the communication. Okay? Communication of what? Communication of information when it comes to contraction and relaxation of the muscles, giving now to, or producing now movement. Deep fascia. Epimysium naman is under the fascia. Under the fascia, meaning to say, it decreases the friction between muscles, one muscles to another muscles. Yan. Para hindi kasi nagkakaroon ng friction. Kasi once kasi nagkaroon ng friction, therefore, it produces heat. Okay? There is heat production. To reduce now the friction of these muscles, then meron tayong mga certain coverings in it, reducing the friction. Perimysium these are group muscle fibers into bundles. And endomysium, it encloses a single muscle fiber only. So, ang makikita, the outermost covering is the epimysium. What is a muscle fiber? Or it can be likened to a cell. Okay, they are made out of what? So, in terms of microscopic anatomy, yan, they are composed, or they are made of cell membrane, or this is your sarcolemma. What else? They are also composed of multiple nuclei, and mitochondrion are found within the cell. Multiple nuclei, why? Because kailangan natin ito ng maraming nucleus. And remember, what is the function of the nucleus? This is the control center of the cell. And what's the function of the muscles? It's for movement. Kailangan lagi, it's being all the time, it is being controlled or monitored by your nucleus because of its function. And of course, mitochondria. Kailangan laging may nag-generate ng energy dito. Kasi nga, bawat galaw, there is movement. We are utilizing energy. Cytoplasm, which called your sarcoplasm, is almost completely filled with long protein chains, which is now called your myofibrils. Yan. Okay. What does each myofibril look like? Ito. So, may mga bands dito. Yan. We have your sarcomere, the A band, the H zone, the Z line, and the M band. Yan. Okay. So, tingnan natin yung kanilang mga structures. So, ano kaya yung mga letters na nakita natin dyan? So, each myofibril has an alternating light. Okay? Or it is being represented by letter I and dark band. Okay? So, this one, dark bond, ibig sabihin darker yung band na to. Okay, yan. Which is being represented by your A band. Pag darker, A band. Lighter, it's I. Each light I bond has a darker midline, which is called the Z line. Yan. Okay, kumbaga there is a division in it. Yan. And this is what we call your Z line. Each dark A bond has a lighter central, which is called now the H zone dito. So this is the A. Between the A bond, meron na namang lighter color dito. Lighter central area, which is called your H zone. Middle area of the H zone is what we call now your M band. Yan. M band. And one Z line to another Z line is called now your sarcomere. Eto. So, ibig sabihin, this is now a part of it. This is the sarcomere. Yan. So, this is the structure of the myofibrils or your cells, myocells. So, arrangement of fascicles or the bundles of fibers. Okay. Fascicle arrangements vary considerably. Yes. Resulting in muscles with different shapes and functional capabilities. Different shapes, kaya nga yung iba, batak yung kanilang mga muscles. And since kung batak, of course, iba yung mga somewhat like mga functions ng mga muscles na to. Okay. So, like for example, ano kaya itong mga to? We have your circular. Yan. Circular. Pag circular siya, of course, saan siya matatagpuan? It is yung mga sphincters natin. Yan, mga concentric rings. So, these are your sphincters. Okay, yan. Which includes also your orbicularis muscles surrounding your mouth and your eyes. Not just only in the opening of, or the passages, or the openings of the in and out of our body, pero meron ding circular dito sa part of facial muscles natin. Convergent naman is somewhat like, a good example is your pectoralis major. So muscle has a broad origin and its fascicles converge toward a single tendon of insertion. So, ibig sabihin, convergent, ano yung kanyang shape? It's triangular or fan shape like the pectoralis major muscle of the anterior thorax. Anterior thorax, ibig sabihin, saan siya matatagpuan? It's in the part or the front part, or it's in our chest. Yan. Anterior thorax. Triangular or fan-like. A good example of this is also your deltoid. Diba? Triangular din siya. And parallel naman. Okay? So, parallel, ibig sabihin, you or the fibers of the muscles run to the long axis of the muscle. Kaya, parallel, kaya they have long strands. Yan, parallel. Pennate naman is somewhat like maliliit. Okay? They are short. Okay? And they are attached obliquely to a central tendon that runs the length of the muscle. Like for example, there are three forms. You have the unipennate, and then the bipennate, and then the multipennate. So, uni, ibig sabihin, isa lang siya. Pag bi naman, dalawa. There are two divisions in it. Ito naman is multipennate siya. Hindi na yan tinawag na quadri, but multipennate. Okay. Then, so yan. So, ibig sabihin, since mag-isa lang siya, so fascicles insert into only one side of the tendon. Then, eto naman, okay, it composes of two, but the insertion, okay, in terms of insertion, it is in the opposite side of the muscle grain, resembles now a feather. And then the multipennate naman is somewhat like, it looks like many feathers side by side, with all their quills inserted into one large tendon. So all in all, they are being inserted only in one tendon, pero there is somewhat like differences in terms of what? The structure and the number of what? Tawag dito, the divisions. Yan.